And welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode 140. This is your weekly video game show where we round up all the Stadia news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there on your podcast preference of choice. This week you're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for the next hour or so, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
You know what, Chris? We're on holiday.
We are. Like right now, when this show goes live, we are not in the UK. We are not sat in these seats that I feel like I live my entire life of now. Whether it's at work or doing podcasts or playing games, this leather chair has got more use out of it than I ever expected. But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. And just like what else isn't a bad thing, folks, this week's episode 140, we've got a great show lined up for you all. We are talking about EA potentially being for sale, or they're definitely pimping themselves out there, that's for sure. We're going to be talking about Gollum sneaking his way onto Stadia. Possibly. We'll go into all that. A bunch of pro predictions and much, much more. But before we dive into it all, do not forget to click like on the video. Click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the Stadia and cloud gaming content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games. Because we do so much stuff right here on the channel. We do live streams. We do Let's Plays. We do gaming community participation events, Richie. What's the better way to call them?
I don't know, a gaming community participation event.
It's a good name. It's a bit elongated, but we'll take it.
A community stream.
Community stream. We do that, of course. We have 2 shows go up weekly. We have this very show, the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, 140 weeks in a row. The most consistent Stadia podcast on the planet. You can't go wrong there. We also do our weekly CloudQuest show, where we go off the beaten path and discuss a cloud gaming topic in a little bit greater detail. Our Helix Heroes, our special members, actually get that up to 6 days early, just like you can. I feel like we're actually recording this episode 6 days early, Richie.
Yeah, well, actually for CloudQuest 69, you might even get it even earlier because I've got to push it before we go away, abroad, so...
That does. We've been talking about it
but
for some time.
It'll still be there for you now, though.
It will be indeed, because this show is, as we pride ourselves on, consistent. We are aware, Richie mentioned it, we touched on it last week. We are, as of right now, probably in a pub somewhere in Krakow, recovering from a heavy weekend of unlimited vodka. And I say unlimited because it's a free bar, so yes. We may not even be in a condition or a state to even talk about video games, full stop.
This might be the last Sounds of Stadia podcast, because we might die.
We might. You never know the strength of the content I will consume while over there. But Richie, that is our little caveat for this week. We do want to let you fine folks out there know that anything we miss out that falls between Tuesday the 24th and the end of the month, the 31st, when this show goes up live on all podcast services and YouTube. We may have missed a couple of things, but you know what? We do our best. You understand that. We understand that. Just like all of our viewers and listeners out there, the hundreds and hundreds of you who tune into the show every single week. We're here for Stadia discussion and news. But before we dive into it all, Richie, a little bit of housekeeping for the fine people out there. You mentioned it. CloudQuest 68 went up last week. Can you remember what we discussed? Because it was a good one.
Yes, we were talking about Ubisoft Classics, which are coming to Stadia. They're coming to PlayStation Plus, and we thought, well, could this stripped-down version of Ubisoft Plus also make its way to Stadia Pro?
Could it indeed? We'd love to hear what you think. Could the Stadia Pro library be boosted by the inclusion of Ubisoft Classics? It's a very good conversation. It's available now on YouTube, and our Helix Heroes got it early, as we said. We are going to go away and record episode 69 for those people as well, and our members get it early. You can support the channel a little bit more by clicking join below. From as little as 99p, you get access to early content, a badge next to your name, and loads of exclusive perks. Just like newest Helix Hero, Richie, to join the amazing roster of fantastic, beautiful human beings out there. Adamoth, you've joined us. We appreciate your patronage, sir. Thank you very, very much. It means the world to us. It helps us bring you better content.
Absolute hero.
Absolute hero. Helix Hero, some would say. Before we do get into the video games, Richie, we are 5 subs away from 1,500, my friend. 1.5k it's within reaching distance.
I hope that by the time people listen to this podcast, that we've smashed through that barrier on YouTube.
Absolutely smashed through it.
Because there's 6 days. Well, it's 6 days between us recording this and the episode going live, so it's entirely possible.
It is, and it can all be made more possible by you sharing it, tagging it, following with your friends, getting the word out there that if you want quality Stadia content, you can come right here. We don't mean to blow to our own horn. Tell your Auntie Doris.
She's always asking you about your hobbies. Let her in.
Yeah, I'm sure she has a YouTube account. Yeah, get Auntie Doris on the blower. But yes, 5 away. We'd appreciate it. We'd love to hit that target. It's another milestone for us. We grow the channel as organically as we possibly can. We don't really focus on clickbait, things like that. We try and get the news out as earnestly as possible. We obviously do stretch sometimes to script the barrel for news stories. But we always make sure there's a link. We always make sure there's that fragile, slightly tangible link that we can cling onto with our little pinky if we possibly can. But before we get into the thick of the show, I keep saying that, there are a couple of bits of housekeeping that we definitely want to touch on. The news last week, Bill and Lloyd over at StadiaCast announced that they are putting StadiaCast on a hiatus of sorts, and I thought it wouldn't be right for us to continue with our Stadia podcast without just addressing the amazing work those two fellas have done over the last 3 years. They were the absolute front runners, trailblazers in content creation for Stadia. They got obviously one of the best names you could possibly get for a Stadia focused podcast. They got an exclusive interview before the product even launched. The quality and absolute professionalism that they have week in, week out over on nerdnest.tv is fantastic. It's something that we base ourselves off, we aspire ourselves, and they've definitely been inspirational for us, and I'm sure a lot of you out there in the Stadia community, whether you want to be a content creator or you are just a gamer and a Stadia player, full stop. But they're not ending fully. They're just on a little bit of a break because the news, of course, as we well know, is drying up quite rapidly. We're in the dry season, Richie, even though we're just heading into the summer of Games Fest, which we know we give them shit out. Them too. We give Stadia shit for it on the show quite sometimes. But I think
it's the calm before the storm for gaming news right now.
It is indeed. And hopefully we'll get swept up in that storm. But yes, tip of the hat to you two awesome gentlemen. You've got an awesome channel. And they do more than Stadia content as well. They do loads of Steam Deck stuff, the Nintendo content, and Games with Bill. So go check all that out if you're looking for just a slight variation on news. But if you do want your Stadia content, we will scrape that barrel, Richie. We'll get right down there with the wallpaper scraper and get the chewing gum off the bottom of the barrel if we need to.
The problem is, when you put clouds in the barrel, they'll just float away.
You put a lid on the barrel?
The barrel just floats away.
I mean, that's what a gas canisters then. Either way, we digress. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to everyone. Yes, that's what we're here for. Actually, Richie, you know what? We can't start the show proper until I tell you about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers on Disney Plus right now. We can, but I don't want to, because as a video game fan, we touched on it at the very end of last week's episode. This is available on Disney Plus now. It's a reboot of sorts with Andy Samberg and a bunch of other amazing comedians. Almost rebooting Rescue Rangers. And I didn't know what to think on it anyway. I watched a little bit of the cartoon back in the day as a child as part of the Disney kind of Saturday collection. I watched it this week. This movie's brilliant. I had such a good time watching this movie. I'm so happy.
When I saw it in the show notes for this episode, I assumed it must be either absolutely dreadful or absolutely amazing, because otherwise you just wouldn't bring it up.
Why would I bring it up? Well, the reason I wanted to, because we touched on it last week, because it had Ugly Sonic. The internet knows now. No spoilers. Yeah. Won't go too much into it, but yeah. Ugly Sonic, let's just say it's not just a cameo that he has in this movie. And,
oh, God.
Yeah, and the references and Easter eggs scattered throughout this movie. It's not like a cheap cash-in like Space Jam New Legacy. Every one of the cameos and Easter eggs is very much earned. And it just tells a decent kind of detective story with some funny beats along the way. I laughed out loud a good couple of times while I watched this movie, and I didn't expect it. I went in with low expectations, and I came out very, very pleased. So I'd say a solid 4 out of 5 for me for this one.
How long is it?
1 hour 38. So once you take out the kind of the 8 minutes worth of kind of trailers and Disney introduction, you probably talk about an hour and a half. So
I'm contemplating, depending what time we finish recording tonight, maybe I'll stick it on.
You should. Really fun movie, available now. I don't know why I'm promoting it so much. Just Rescue Rangers, available now. Go check it out. It's a good laugh if you're after, especially if you've got kids. Your kids will love it for other reasons, but as an adult who grew up with like Roger Rabbit and Disney and the early Saturday morning cartoons, Darkwing Duck and stuff, yeah, well worth an hour and a half of your time. You could even sack off this podcast and go watch it in the same duration, no doubt. No, I joke. Don't. Watch this. Have us on in the background at least. Get us those likes and views. But Richie, let's get into the thick of it, if you would do me the honours of introducing us to
the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
The news, indeed. Asterix, as I mentioned, we are recording this on Tuesday the 24th. We were hoping for a pro game drop until all of the smart people realised that actually next Tuesday, the 31st, will be the last day of the month, so it doesn't look like Stadia are going to be dropping it a week early. I wish they would drop it a week early just to allow the hype to build up a little bit for Pro Day.
Well, to be fair, after last month, then the fact that if they drop it before the first of the month at all, it's a bonus.
That is a good point. We are referencing the fact that we haven't got it this Tuesday. There's no guarantee we're going to get it next Tuesday. So actually, we might not miss out on the news. We might have to wait for a press release from someone. But this show goes live on the Monday before the 30th. So actually, we're going to get some pro game predictions in there. But before we do that, we do have some video game news to talk about. Story number 1 for the week, Richie. EA, Electronic Arts, of course, are one of the biggest third-party game makers in the games industry. And as the market has consolidated like never before over the last few months, years, with crazy amounts of millions and billions in fact being spent, it's no surprise that from Kotaku this week, I report and read, Electronic Arts is scrambling like everybody else to find a potential suitor for either a merger or an absolute acquisitional buyout. Apparently, Richie, they've had discussions with NBC Universal to form part of a merger. They've also held potential acquisition talks with Disney, Apple, and a few other companies. While a deal isn't currently in the works, it looks like they were turned down or they didn't quite work things out initially. It does sound like EA plans to give up their actual kind of status as an independent company some point soon. Reading from the continued thing, from the article we've got in our reading quote, in recent years, media companies have taken greater interest in the rapidly growing games industry. Andrew Wilson and Electronic Arts have held talks with a number of one. Another one was Amazon, we should point out as well. So several sources familiar with these talks say EA has been persistent in pursuing a sale and has only grown more hungry for a sale in the wake of the Microsoft Activision deal with the potential billions of dollars on the table. It does say in this article that they are potentially looking more for a merger rather than a straight-out buyout. But, Richie, It does look as though the video game industry is not resting on its laurels when it comes to more money being spent and more chess pieces moving around the board.
Yeah, my thoughts are, I think EA might be getting a bit nervous because with Microsoft and Sony especially making so many big moves in like purchases of other studios, EA kind of like in a similar situation to like Ubisoft, where like they like their independence from a single platform holder. So is this the case of we're going to find someone else who's got enough money, or ideally merge with another publisher to force them up to that size where they can actually almost protect themselves, so they're not forced into a position where they have to accept a deal from either Sony or Microsoft.
So kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah, like it's like, well, actually, because although EA are huge, relative to Microsoft now, they're tiny. Like, it's because of all the deals Microsoft have gone through or have been recently got through. That makes them like a weird to say, a relatively small player in the market.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually in comparison. There's a lot of similarities between when people say about Sony trying to acquire stuff, and the reality is Sony do not have the capital that companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google have. Yes, they're a huge company. Yes, they're mega rich. Yeah. However, they're just not on that next level that you can be like Microsoft could. I was reading and listened to a lot of game podcasts this week around the Xbox Game Pass and how it's making a loss and there's people leaving the subscription. Microsoft could eat a loss on Game Pass for decades without having any really major impact on their bottom line, because they just have so much coming in from other areas of the business. a lot of companies don't have that luxury, and I think you're right in saying EA are definitely a big company. They're a behemoth in the games industry. However, there's always a bigger fish, Richie.
And the thing with Sony, while they might not have the spending power of Microsoft or Amazon or Google, they do have that install base that they've built up over the decades with their platform. That alone gives them a lot of power.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have the sort of money to throw around, they do have that. They have that PlayStation console, that platform.
Yeah, exactly. As the platform holder, you can always take a percentage from just having the platform. You just take your cut, right? EA might publish a game, but PlayStation are always going to get a cut. Xbox are always going to get a cut. And
that's why, despite Microsoft actually throwing around a lot more money than Sony at the moment, it still feels like Microsoft are playing catch up. Game Pass is redefining the industry, though, which is actually, it's forced Sony's hand. They've changed PlayStation Pro.
Yeah, they have.
Probably because in response to Game Pass. Yeah, PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
In response to Game Pass.
Yeah, and it's interesting almost if Game Pass kind of keep expanding, keeps adding stuff, it forces the competition to make changes. And like again, Microsoft can eat that loss. Is it almost like a long-term goal to make all of their competitors shift tactics, knowing their competitors can't keep up financially with that kind of model? So they're just going to outlast them almost in a way. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. But in terms of EA, potential suitors, they've said NBC Universal is one I didn't expect when I initially read this article and I saw it going up. Disney, Apple, Amazon, no surprise there. You go to the big players, right? The people who aren't necessarily fully integrated into the industry. Where do you think all of these sit? Yeah.
Well, I think Disney, I do have the feeling Disney are very eager to get more involved in games. I wonder if the Disney deal's fallen apart with Battlefront, because we don't know the timeline of these talks. The article kind of implies that this is not a new development, but it's more been accelerated by the last year of like everyone buying everyone.
Yeah, it's like a
scramble. The Disney stuff might have been like over the last few years, but with how EA handled Battlefront and the negativity around that might just kill the deal straight away.
Like, it could be.
I can see Disney going, we're willing to talk to you guys once you've got a few more hits back out there and you've shown that you're actually in good graces with like the general public again, because right now you're a bit iffy.
Well, we know with EA their exclusive 10-year deal with Disney and Star Wars ends come 2023. We know they've got Jedi Fallen Order 2, they've had EA Squadrons recently. They have got more games in the works with the sequel, Jedi Survivor, and then also there's another 2 titles I think they're working on. One's a mobile game and other such things, but I don't think they're necessarily out. But looking at Disney as a potential purchaser, I think Disney are quite happy just licensing their IP out rather than doing it themselves. Like, why would you get your hands dirty when you can just take a massive cut for doing as little work as possible?
I think Disney are quite happy to be a publisher.
Yeah, same.
We're not going to make the games. We're going to license our IP out to whatever studio gives us a good pitch that we like the sound of. We're going to go, yes, you can do that. We'll publish it. He's the money. He's the IP.
Yeah.
Crack on.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we've seen that with Star Wars already. Like, they just dished it all out. Even this week, apparently Marvel Spider-Man was offered to Xbox and they turned it down because they wanted to focus on their own in-house first-party studios and IP.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it from anyone else but Insomniac now. But it's an interesting...
Considering one of the biggest criticisms of Microsoft is they don't really have any of them Sony-style big third-person action adventure games. Spider-Man is definitely a very Sony-esque game that Microsoft definitely could have done with that.
Yeah, but would they have done it justice the way Insomniac have? We'll never know. It's in an alternate world. But and then Apple, I think Apple are always that sleeping giant who they are. With all respect, they're the only big, I would say, conglomerate company that hasn't dabbled really in video games yet. Yes, they have Apple Arcade and they have all their App Store content, but they're the only one. Like, we've got Google, we've got Amazon, both having their crack at the whip when it comes to cloud gaming. We've talked about that extensively. We have a whole podcast on it. But in Microsoft, obviously, do it. They're the only big player, I would say, who have their hands in every content pie, from movies to TV to technology, and they don't quite have a foot in the video games yet.
The issue with Apple, as in general, if you look across their entire product range, they like to control the experience too much, which means that I think they'd want, if they bought something like EA, they'd probably want to put it on their platform.
Yeah. which wouldn't be good for the industry.
No, I mean, to be honest, the less power Apple has in the industry, I think for the better. There's nothing wrong with I don't like Apple for a lot of the ways they do things, like the fact that the iPhone still has a Lightning port rather than a USB-C. The fact that there's things like an iOS, like on your phone, you can't move the apps to where you want it. They just restrict the sort of like creative, like customizability for the user and go. It's kind of arrogant. They go, this is how you have to do it. This is how you use our products. Yeah. Our products are great. It's like, yeah, but let me do what I want to do with it.
Yeah,
like,
I get you. I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers...
So I don't know. It's like, I don't really see Apple as a good fit for the gaming industry. I don't know how they fit.
Yeah. No, I get it. They need to come out with a cloud gaming platform first before. Would they have a better crack at the whip than Google and Luna and Amazon have done so far? Who knows? But I think they'll be watching it with keen eyes. I don't think Apple are daft enough to ignore the video games. They make a hell of enough money from the mobile game side of things.
The fact that they haven't made any strong moves, to me, suggests that they haven't found the way they want to get into the industry in the way that suits how they've run their business and all the other like avenues of business they're in, which is very much like, if you think, just look at go back to phones again, you can't pick up an Apple phone that isn't on iOS. Where with the Google side, like Android's the operating system, you can get one from Samsung, from Sony, from whoever. Like
Samsung.
It's just Apple just like to have that very much controlled ecosystem.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It adds extra layers of security, and it again transitioning from device to device is seamless.
Okay.
I mean, if
that's
it's
definitely true, but less applicable nowadays as Androids improve. But yeah, true. It's just I just don't see their spot in the gaming industry outside the mobile space.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
They'd have to do something very un-Apple to get in.
Yeah, and I think the biggest way this whole conversation goes is the threat that it causes to Stadia, and I think actually we're going to go away and record this week's episode of SideQuest, where we are actually going to... CloudQuest, damn it. 2 weeks in a row. By the time we're up to episode 100, we might be on the same track. I'll keep you straight with it. You keep me straight with it. Yeah. So you viewers and listeners out there can do so as well. But yes, on this week's episode of CloudQuest, I think it's going to be a big talking point for the impact all of these potential moves can have on Stadia, because we've alluded to it on a few shows before. But the more of these mergers and acquisitions that happen right under Google's nose, the less pool of talent there is for Stadia to pull on and lean on from devs and publishers. And we saw that as soon as Bethesda left 2 odd years ago now. And we thought, well, actually, Stadia's library has quite a few Bethesda games as launch titles and as big tentpole games in the library. If you lose them, that's one thing.
Bethesda was singing Google's praises out the gate.
Yeah, they were one of the flagship. They were actually, Doom Eternal was the flagship kind of tentpole promotional campaign day one in 2019. So they lost that, and then now Microsoft are making bigger moves to buy more people. If EA is for sale, Ubisoft are apparently for sale. Big talking point there. So check out CloudQuest this week. I was going to say ClydeQuest, but that's not one of our shows just yet. So the only kind of biggest takeaway into this one, Richie, that I think would be probably the biggest direct threat to Stadia is Amazon. They shipped it out to Amazon. Now, Amazon, of course, approaching things slightly differently to how Google are. They have the subscription models, very similar in a lot of terms, but they do have and still actively are developing their own games with Amazon Game Studios. If you add EA under that umbrella, that bolsters Amazon's kind of like wealth and talent tenfold in just one purchase, and they have the money, and it's seemingly they're keen on getting actual video games out. We saw New World, we saw the published the South Korean game, totally forgot what the name's called, but I know it's the South Korean game that was published 2 months ago or something, super huge, can't remember it. Everyone thinks Amazon made it, but they didn't, they just published it. Can't remember it, it'll come to me in a moment. But yes, what do you think if Amazon actually did pick up EA? Obviously, that's Stadia not getting EA games any longer, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely would be. Although, actually, I don't know. It really depends, because Amazon have published games on other platforms despite having Luna. So
yeah,
I don't think Luna. I think Amazon are probably dealing with Amazon games and Luna as separate entities at the moment. Mm-hmm. Until Luna gets to this critical mass where they can go, all Amazon games are going to be in Luna exclusive. So by keeping them separate, they can grow both like the game studios and the Luna platform independent of each other.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one when we look at Microsoft as well with the Activision deal, and they've said, oh, don't worry, Call of Duty will be on PlayStation platforms. Do we think that's going to be forever, though? Like, there's nothing to stop them in 5 years going, actually, guys, this year's Call of Duty, exclusive to Xbox, get it on Game Pass day one, but you said it was going to be on PlayStation. Yeah, sorry, they'll eat shit for like a month, but then all the sales will go to Xbox. Like, I'm sure the loss of bad PR is worth it for the exclusivity of Call of Duty in the long run.
With Call of Duty, I think all of the current in-works titles will be on PlayStation, no more than that.
Yeah, and I know they're saying they're going to play happy, but as a business, there's nothing to stop you changing your mind in 6, 7, 8 years' time and go, oh, well, it's our IP, we own it, we owe them nothing, come over here. And it's the same with like kind of Bungie and Destiny going the other way. Destiny will be on everything. Will it though, long term? Will it though? Again, these are businesses at the end of the day. They don't have to tell the truth.
There's a reason, well, they do actually if they're publicly traded to a certain degree. There's a reason Sony is scrambling at the moment to get as many studios working on them on like multiplayer titles. Because if Microsoft pull Call of Duty away from them, that's a lot of gamers who buy their PlayStation to just play Call of Duty gone. So they need equivalents. But anyway, back to Amazon. In a weird way, I think EA and Amazon make a good fit.
Ooh.
Because they're both controversial companies who tend to put their revenue streams above all else, including like pretty much any sort of creativity or dealing with their own employees, all that sort of crap. I think they're a good fit, but not in a good way. I think because EA is I mean, they seem to be changing in over the recent years. But for a long time, it was just like, how much money can we extract from our users? That seemed to be the philosophy, which is very much an Amazon approach to life. But yeah, I don't think it'd be a Luna exclusive anytime soon. But if Amazon did buy EA, I could see it.
Yeah. It's an interesting one to think we could potentially live in a world within the next few years where EA, Ubisoft, and Activision Blizzard are no longer third party. It's going to shake up the industry so much, and we haven't really seen much with Bethesda because they haven't had any games out yet. But when the next slate of titles do start coming through next year and beyond, it is going to be interesting to see how everyone competes and combats that. And again, to bring it back to Stadia, the pool is looking like, I know we complain about the lack of like big AAA games this year, and that's from third party. So they don't have their own first party. The well, when it comes to third party, is drying up. Indie titles only do so much. I genuinely worry for the catalogue of games that are even going to be available in the years to come.
Yeah.
Let alone what they can actively get and want themselves, but what's actually physically on the shelf to purchase, because it's getting thin out there.
Microsoft's just going to turn around and go, no. Sony just going to turn around and go, no.
Amazon are going to do the same.
Amazon will probably do the same unless they think there's like more revenue in it for them, and that's the thing. I think Amazon, if they felt putting games on Stadia was more beneficial in the long term, they'd do it.
Yeah.
Where I think Sony and Microsoft on principle go, no, we're just gonna.
Yeah.
It's actually more. It's to our benefit that even if in the short term we make more money.
Yeah.
By not giving you these, we limit the growth of your platform, which keeps players on ours.
Yeah. And this again kind of brings it back to titles and even your indie studios prioritization. They have 140 million Nintendo Switches to port stuff onto. They've got 120 million PlayStation 4s and then an extra few 20 million PS5s. However many millions of Xboxes out there, and then PC, Steam, Epic, all vying for trade and business and something to put on your subscription model. EA Game Pass, they'll drop a couple 100,000 no doubt to get your title. PlayStation Plus's new lineup, they'll drop a few to get you on an exclusive for the premium tier. Nintendo just do Nintendo. Epic want you exclusively on PC. And at what point, honestly, does Stadia and Stadia Pro just kind of fall down the pecking order to a point where, without Google splashing any cash or doing anything to majorly shake this up, the interest level is so low that there's just nothing in the pipeline doesn't even exist, let alone nothing in it.
Yeah. That's my worry. I know we've had conversations with people who are like, oh, I've got such a big backlog, I'm quite content. But my worry is for the future of the platforms. Like, if they don't start bringing games that people want to play, that are excited to play,
new games,
then new games. That's going to put current users, like, they're going to start spending. We know people who've literally were all Stadia. That's it. All they have, and now have Xboxes or PlayStations, and they spend more time playing over there than on Stadia. They're still involved with Stadia, but they're spending more and more time away from that platform. So it's going to discourage people from sticking around on the platform, and then it's worth the draw for new players.
Yeah.
We can talk about the tech. Tech's great. We can talk about the ease of use. It's great, but Microsoft and Sony are catching up on them two things, and they also have the game library. And in the day, it doesn't matter how good your platform is in paper. If you do not have the games that people want to play, they'll play it somewhere else.
Yeah, and if they're playing elsewhere, that means no income, and no income means
no Stadia.
No Stadia. Like, yeah, it can't run at a loss forever. So, again, I would just love to see some kind of sign of life from anyone in the higher ups to actually come out and just speak to us as consumers, because we will move on to story number 2, actually, Richie, because it kind of naturally evolves into this, talking about what they're doing to keep it propped up. And of course, we know about the business-to-business model with Immersive Stream for Games, and AT&T confirmed, second news story of the week, Control Ultimate Edition is now being offered for AT&T customers in the United States of America. They've teamed up with Google once again and 505 Games as publishers to offer customers free access to one of the finest games of the last 2 years. One of my favourite games, if not my favourite game of 2019. I think it was about on par with Jedi Fallen Order. It's up and live now. If you have an AT&T postpaid plan, you can play Control now through the direct link. Again, very similar to the Batman Arkham Knight promotion, essentially. It's running using Google's tech through a web browser. Google's obviously licensing it out to AT&T in some way, capacity. And they actually did an interview this week, which was the biggest surprise to me. We actually saw a spokesperson for Stadia, Dov Zimring, actually, head of product at Google's Immersive Stream for Games, actually come out and answer some questions about the involvement with 505, AT&T and such. So we'll read through the article, we'll pick out some bits and pieces. The first one is, question number 1 for Dov was, are there any major differences between the tech used for Immersive Stream for Games versus Stadia? And I quote, no. In fact, the first platform to use Immersive Stream for Games was Stadia, which continues to utilise it to deliver new features for Stadia developers, publishers, and players. Now, before we get into it, Richie, I have a really bugbear problem with this initial response. It was the first platform to use Immersive Stream for Games.
Yeah, this to me kind of makes it seem like Google developed this technology and then we're using Stadia as a showcase of it. So do you start going like tinfoil hat and go, was this the plan all along? Use Stadia to show how good the tech is, then while you're working on business to business.
Yeah, because when I read this article on whatever day it released on my phone, I was scrolling through and I was saying Immersive Stream for Games was used for Stadia. I was like, no, Stadia was used for Stadia. Like, the Stadia tech was used to power Stadia. That you then rebranded it to sell off to businesses as Immersive Stream for Games was only labelled at the Dev Summit a few months back. Yeah,
that's the way we understand it, but it is entirely possible that the plan was always, we're going to launch our own platform, but we're also going to do business to business. Mm-hmm. And the Immersive Stream for Games is just the branding they settled on when they were ready to start pushing for business to business. Yeah.
Obviously,
it wouldn't put it past. It also explains why they were seeming quite happy to scale back on how much money they're putting into Stadia. Mm. Because, we're ready to go for more Immersive Stream for Games. Divert the funds over there.
Yeah, I just don't like the wording. Obviously, this article is aimed at AT&T customers and to try and talk about why the tech is good for Google's business. But as a consumer and as a fan, it doesn't do much for me. The saving grace of Control Ultimate Edition being the next game for AT&T to partner with, it doesn't bother me that much because we can buy it a la carte on the Stadia store, and in fact it was a pro game last year. That's why this article isn't as... I'm not as salty about it as I could be. If they came out and said, Gotham Knights is going on here, but it's not available through Stadia's platform, that'd be another piss take. Just like, how have we not got Arkham Knight yet? I know anything to do with AT&T and immersive stream for games, it's always going to crop up. It absolutely pains me that Arkham Knight is playable via web browser if you have a broadband deal with AT&T, but I can't buy it on the Stadia tech that it's running on. Still.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation loads of times. Like, we don't necessarily have an issue with like this white label stuff, but we do. I mean, I do. I think you agree. Is that if a game is getting white labeled and it's running on the hardware, I can see no reason why it can't be on Stadia as well.
Yeah.
Just all you need to do is negotiate that, and I don't think it would even cost. Do you think AT&T would be bothered if Bat of Arkham was on Stadia as well, purchasable?
I mean, they'd make money, right? If someone bought Arkham for 15 quid, they own the Warner Brothers as part of their same division, right? So it's just no one's going to win other than you. It's so weird, but I mean, it's just one of them bugbears that I have with it, because I honestly believe someone over at the Stadia tech team could get Arkham Knight on the platform within 24 hours. They would just need some cover art, they'd copy and paste the description from Steam, they'd flick a switch, and all of a sudden the link to play it would stop being AT&T and it would be on the Stadia storefront, and I'd be able to click it, buy it, and be playing Batman goodness within a click.
I wonder what how things go through in terms of like ratings boards and stuff with things like these like bespoke deals with AT&T, because surely they'll have to go through the ratings board on that platform. And I mean, technically, it's technically a different platform, even if we do know it's running on the same service.
Yeah. Anyway, though, interestingly enough, Control Ultimate Edition, as I said, is available now. This one, however, does support gameplay on smartphones and tablets, whereas the Batman Arkham version was only available on desktop. So it's expanding.
It's already had the full Stadia port treatment. That's why
it has indeed.
Rather than just probably a smaller port treatment to get it on for whatever they wanted.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. They did also touch on the tooling and the way porting a game across works. The Dov goes into discussing the goals of the partnership was to actually utilise and accelerate customers and porting it across. So they go in to talk about creating remote demos accessible to multiple organisations and testing it across AT&T smartphone and tablet endpoints. So the way I look at this deal from a network standpoint for AT&T, it's a really good way to showcase their own 4G and 5G capabilities. It's a really good marketing push to just say, look, if you want to play AAA games, our mobile network isn't just great for watching cat and dog videos on TikTok, it can actually play the latest AAA award-winning games through the click of a button. And that's, I think, it works well to promote their network. It's a great, cheap little promo to get in, because how many people are really buying Control at full price anyway? So it's a decent accolade-winning title to get on there. And again, it creates news articles like this one, which it gets a bit of hype and buzz. The follow-up question later in the article asks, can you shed some light on the future of immersive stream for games? Are there more partnerships in the works with other companies looking to use the tech? To which Dov replies, following the reveal of immersive stream for games at the Google Developer Summit back in March, we saw a lot of interest from studios big and small around the industry through our interest form, which developers were asked to fill out. While those discussions are ongoing, we can expect to see a new immersive stream for games customer launching soon. So it looks like we're going to have another white labeled service go live some point in the next few months, Richie. No idea what it could be. Outright Games, maybe?
Maybe DE in the UK, because they do have links with AT&T.
Yeah, we'll see. Trials, demos, expansions, subscription bundles, or even entire storefronts, he goes on to say. It's exciting to imagine the future possibilities here, and even more so to be a part of making them a reality. AT&T then go on to talk about their goals for network and 5G infrastructure and blah, blah, blah. Not much really more Stadia to pluck out of this. They go on to talk about why they chose Control, because it's a great game. It is a great game.
Why did you choose Control? Because that's a great game.
Great game. They go on to ask about, can you share any details about how many people have played Arkham Knight yet following the launch? They reply saying tens of thousands.
17.
17. That's more Stadia players apparently. Tens of thousands have already enjoyed Batman Arkham Knight. They've got insights into a lot of people have finished the game from beginning to end, which is great to see.
Have they shared them numbers?
No.
So, yeah. So, like, tens of thousands of people have probably clicked the button.
Mm-hmm. But
I wonder how many people have actually sat down and played for, let's say, at least an hour.
Yeah, it's interesting. But nothing more Stadia specific to pull away from that article, other than we've got our second white label game up and running. I'm sure it runs fantastically. I'm sure our American friends over there will check that out and play it.
We know for a fact it does run fantastically. I have played Control on Stadia. That's the experience you're getting.
Yeah. So we'll find out more about that. And again, not so bitter because the title is on Stadia. However, if white labelling is going to continue, it's great that it brings in funds for the platform, which they're obviously needed to support it in some degree. I just hope every game going forward is available to purchase a la carte.
Yeah.
Alongside. Moving on though, Richie, we said this episode is going live on Monday the 30th, so one day out from hopefully our pro game announcement, depending if they want to tell us them or not tell us them this month. We want to do a little segment here about our predictions. So, where would you like to start? I have a few ideas.
Well, yeah, I've got a few ideas. For the sake of this, we're going to both make predictions. There's two things I want to bring up. First of all, we're not including Deliver Us the Moon because it should have already been. So that's not a part of this. And the second one is we both agree in Death Run TV, so there's no real point in us just going into that.
I mean, yeah, for clarity's sake, Death Run TV, we announced it on last week's show. John Scar revealed it that with a gameplay demo trailer that it's coming on the 1st of June. So we do both very highly suspect that it's going to go pro because of it's a smaller indie title. It involves like multiplayer, but at the same time, it's dropping on the 1st of the month, which is a good indication. So yeah, we can have Death Run TV as our pro game prediction
because we both have it. So
because we both pretty much have it by default. Yeah. Where else to go though? So it's an interesting one. As the months tick by, we keep saying that the Stadia library isn't like once you strip out the Ubisoft titles, which are never going to come pro. Unless, like last week's CloudQuest episode, we get Stadia Ubisoft Classics, Unless that happens, we're kind of limited to what's available currently.
Yeah.
Unless we get some massive surprise announcements. Where do you want to go? Because they need to have one tentpole game, and Outriders was a fantastic one for last month. I'll hold my hands up and say, last month was with City Skylines was actually a fantastic month. Kaze, Wild Masks, Paw Patrol. But more importantly, those two big temples were fantastic. They didn't even have to give us City Skylines middle of the month. They could have held off until June and give us it as a June Pro game alongside Death Run. And that would have been a good start to begin with. So, what do you think, Richie? What's your big, not necessarily AAA, but what's your tentpole title for Pro in June?
There's two titles that I'm going backwards and forwards on in my mind. Which one might go Pro? I'm going to go with Judgment.
Oh, okay.
It's been out a little while on Stadia. Lost Judgment came out this year. And when I was scrolling through the library, I was trying to think, God, what on earth could come to Pro? It was one that jumped out at me. It's like, I think it's in that like £30 to £40 price point. So it's not like a £60, £70 game. So I can see it coming to Pro. It's Sega rather than like. It's not like, I mean, immediately you're just writing off all the Ubisoft titles.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, what could it be? What could it be? I think Judgment, yeah.
That could be a really good call, that. It's been, like you said, it's been on the platform. We didn't get the sequel, which means that obviously the publishers and developers might not be bringing any more titles in the near future, so why wouldn't you rinse that stone a little bit more and try and get a bit more cash out of the pot you've already got on the platform? And what better way to go back to an old game that not many people are probably buying and just trying to get some of that Stadia Pro cash?
I mean, this is one where if I'm pulling out my tinfoil hat, I've got a feeling that it might be a case of we'll pay the money to bring the sequel or maybe they had a deal to bring the sequel if it does enough numbers, if it does the numbers. And I suspect it hasn't.
Yeah. No, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And maybe one day they'll actually bring us a Football Manager back as well. So there you go.
I doubt that's going to happen.
You know, remember back in the day at the launch when we got Football Manager and it was like, this is going to be great on mobile. Imagine that with direct touch. Direct touch.
I still stand by Football Manager with direct touch would be a perfect Stadia game.
It would be. It really,
but
really
it's,
would.
you're just going to get with xCloud now. So
no, yeah, that as well. My big tentpole pick for the month of June, I mentioned it in our Discord server. If you're out there, if you're listening, you're watching along, we have an absolutely amazing Discord server packed full of gamers just like you who play Stadia, who play cloud games, just video games in general, actually. We have conversation all day, every day about loads of amazing things. The link is in the description below. Conversation, Richie, pops off literally every day now. It's become such a vibrant, small community. Absolutely love it. There's like not a day goes past I don't like swipe up messages and go, oh, cool, they're talking about that. We get a lot of our news stories actually from people in our Discord going, oh, look at this awesome story. It's like,
not even joking sometimes, because if I'm at work, like I'll see my phone go off and go, oh, that news has dropped.
Yeah, it's awesome. So Discord in below, jump in. We'd love to have you join us. But I also mentioned it in there in the Discord, as I said, my big title, I want to put my money on Chorus. Purely because, similar to what you said, it sits in that kind of not AAA price bracket, a little bit lower. Came out before Christmas, kind of got a bit washed over by all of the other big releases around that time of the year. I think it was received pretty well, which I think is usually a good aim for a Stadia Pro title. It's not going to get a title that's going to blow your socks off, but it gets that kind of next tier down where it's well received, it looks beautiful, it runs well on the platform. And it has that bit of monetary value to it where people would look at it and go, yeah, you know what, I'll give you a month's Pro sub for that because I'm getting my return immediately on the one game alone. I really enjoyed what I played of Chorus. I never went back to it because the aforementioned list of other big titles that came out around Christmas. But I think it would be a really good get for Pro. So, Chorus. Yeah, I also think the developers might want to recoup a little bit of their money in a similar way to the Judgment devs would have wanted to. So
yeah, I agree. I can see Chorus being one of them deals where you're going to bring it on the platform in 6 months' time or something. We're going to push it to Pro.
Yeah, I mean, we are pretty much coming up on half a year. Oh, and another caveat, it was on Luna Plus. So the devs are clearly willing to do some kind of partnership deal as far as subscription models go. Luna Plus, Stadia Pro, Game Pass. It was probably on Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I think Chorus, yeah, that's going to be my big tentpole one.
Yes.
We've both got Death Run TV, right?
Yeah. Do you want to go with just 2 more each for this prediction?
Yeah, we can throw it out there. So
yeah, because
do you want to?
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like filter down. Depending on how many we're going to throw out there, I'm trying to filter down like my ideas.
Okay.
So if we're going to do 3 plus Death Run,
3. Then... Yeah. I mean, I could go with 2 more.
2, yeah, that's it. We've already got one each. So there'll be 2 more.
Okay. Well, Handy Games over on Twitter teased a little bit this week. Our friend Lee Reed from Stadia Source tweeted out saying, really hoping to get the Pro predictions as of today, similar to the way we did, and then realised that the May 31st actually lands on a Tuesday, so it's going to be pushed back a little bit. Handy Games Twitter account, as always, teasing, replied with a gif of a cat giving you a hug, hugs coming your way, and then Lee replied, don't suppose it have anything to do with the Stadia Pro games. They reply with another GIF saying, I have absolutely no idea. They're just teasing back and forth, and that makes me think that they're quite good on their social channels. I suspect, Richie, we might finally see the reveal of Scarf.
Damn it, I had that.
Hey! Just because our friend John Scar did get a press pack release for Scarf upon its console platform release elsewhere, mentioning Stadia. Stadia was very much a part of the press release, and then they reached out and said, actually, it's not coming. Ignore all that, even though all the artwork and promotional material was literally made and sent out in an email to press. So I always think it was just a matter of time, and I think another 2 or 3 months has passed since then. It seems right for the pick in that we get a new game day one on Pro from Handy Games. So yeah, Scarf.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of them because of like the John Scar leaks and stuff.
John Scar leaks.
Well, is this a case of they've agreed a Pro deal, but the one that Go Pro Tales had a few months out in the wild already? But for my next one, I can't decide. Do I go sensible or do I go wish list item here?
Go crazy, Richie. It's Tuesday. Do what you want.
Okay, I'm going to go wish list item for my next one, and then I'm going to go sensible for my last one. Final Fantasy 15.
Oh!
It's been on the platform for a while.
It has a long time.
It's currently about that. It's in that $34.99 price point.
Never really on sale either.
Yeah, I mean it's been discounted a few times now too. It's not a sale price, but it's just been
It's a little bit off.
And it's old enough that I think this is something like if Google went to Square, can we put 15 on Pro? They'll go like, yeah, go on.
Yeah, we don't care. Do what you want.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's probably one of the biggest titles that I think is gettable for Stadia Pro that's currently on the platform that hasn't already been.
Wouldn't that be such a good promotion as well for Stadia? Just to be like, all the people who are like hungry for the next Final Fantasy announcement, that no doubt PlayStation are going to drop a new trailer and stuff at whatever showcase they show in June. Everyone's talking about stuff. Like for Stadia, just come out and go, look, you want to play the old Final Fantasy game? It's free on Pro this month. That's such a big, well-known brand and IP to get out front and centre. Just like some other titles have been in the past. I think it'd be a great get.
Correct me wrong in the comments, but I believe the version of 15 on Stadia has all of the DLC already baked in. Because I have put it this way, Chris. I have the Platinum Trophy on PlayStation. Take a guess what my game completion percentage is.
Ooh. Probably a really annoying like 65% or something.
Lower.
So there's a lot of DLC. Oh yeah, didn't they cancel some of the DLC for this game? Was this the one
I think so.
that canned like some of the expansions?
Yeah, 50%.
Okay.
That's the amount of like expansions. So
okay,
because it was a bit. It was the game. It's one of them games that just seemed to keep coming out.
Yeah, never ended. To be fair, same as the last Final Fantasy remake, only half of that game came out the other year.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on that.
Right.
But we digress. My final one then, my final pro game, it's got to be an outright game because they've got that many on the platform now. It's easy to just dig into that family collection of titles. Yeah. I'm going to go with a random one, Blaze and the Monster Machines Axle City Racers. It could have just been any from the list of outright games. They're amazing supporters. We broke it down last week's show. There's another 6 titles coming from them by the end of the year. Why not just throw some more outright into the mix? Axle City Racers, Monster Machines. Why not?
I did have something by outright games that we haven't seen yet, but I'm going to finish mine off with just some shitty mobile port.
Is that the actual title, or is that...
No, that's just... I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a mobile game that's been ported over to Stadia for no apparent reason.
Coming to Stadia Pro. Some
just to
shitty mobile port.
To fill up the arbitrary 100 games I'm expecting this year.
Okay. I love it. But folks, do let us know your pro predictions in the comments below. You have probably about 48 hours from the time this show goes live to get those comments in, and we'll see who is right. Will it be Judgment? Will it be Chorus? Will it be Scarf? Will it be none of the above, and actually they don't tell us about the pro games until like the 13th of the month for some reason? We'll find out.
If I'm right, Judgment, Final Fantasy 15, Death Run TV, and some shitty mobile ports, not a bad month.
It's not. I will take the shitty mobile port if it comes with others of the titles. And of course, we'll have first looks up on the channel of any pro games that stand out to us. We'll jump in and play them. If there's any multiplayer titles that drop, we'll play them with you, the amazing community. It's a great... worthwhile to point out, Richie, we are in Poland as of now, but that does not mean we do not have content going up on Thursday in place of our usual Thursday night live stream. That's right, we've already recorded, it's in the bag, our first look at Overcooked All You Can Eat on Google Stadia. Myself and Richie don our chef's hats, jump into the kitchen, and we chop away and get those gold stars. It's about a 50-minute first look. It's going to premiere. It's the first actual premiere we've ever done on the show, and I listed it specifically as a premiere, Richie, because everyone usually tunes in live to play along with us, and I'd love it if anyone is watching along just as the premiere goes live, because the chat's live, just to watch along and chat with other people in our community. Although we won't be there, we'll probably be drunk somewhere. I think it's something a bit different we've never done before, and I thought, hey, why not?
Yeah,
try it out.
Depending what we're doing, while sat at the bar in Poland, we might jump in the chat for a little bit.
Yeah, we might watch along. We might join you watching us. Yeah. Very, very metaverse, Richie. Very metaverse.
That's the point of the premieres, actually, isn't it? So you can have this go up, then you can have a live chat, and you can interact with the chat while they're watching the video.
Yeah, we just sit back and relax and cringe at our own voices. But not our culinary skills, because we are really good at Overcooked. I will stress that.
That is true.
Right then, moving on, next story of the week, away from our pro game predictions. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the game that does not give up, Richie. It's got its latest patch update, 1.5.2. Brings some fresh updates to your Ravensthorpe settlement. If you are one of the many, many millions of people still out there chipping away in Britain, in Viking times, new features are coming. Ravensthorpe settlement. You can now construct a new armory, which is a nice little hut, which will allow you to show off up to 5 different loadouts, swap between them in the game's menu. It sounds like, Richie, you're just going to have like a nice little hut that keeps all of your armor kind of on mannequins, I guess. Yeah. But you could just jump in, which I like it. I like it. It's a nice touch.
Are they actually adding loadouts to the game now as well? Is this part of the update?
Yeah. Part of the update means you can select it from the menu, but similar to like past Assassin's Creed games, when you've gone into like your homestead and all of your different outfits you've collected are there. I think it makes it quite good, because sometimes going to the menu and switching weapons and cloak and hood and helmet and stuff out, it can be a bit clunky. Yeah. But seeing it visually laid out in an actual, like, I guess, a wardrobe, it's quite cool.
I'm guessing the toy with the idea of just putting like mannequins in, like, you know, your little bedroom area of your main hut, but maybe it just looked a bit too cluttered, so
it's got its own
to give you a new hut.
Yeah, I like it.
Imagine that you're living in the village. You're like, not only do I have a bedroom in the main building, I also want a hut over there just to store my armor.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. And of course, Valhalla keeps getting added to it. There's more mystery quest challenges coming in the future. The river raid modes are still there. It's very repeatable. Amongst all the loads of other bug squashes and stuff. The update is going to be up to 7 gig on PC and Xbox. So if you're a Stadia player out there, just click to play. You don't have to worry about it. Live your best life. That's the Assassin's Creed news. We do have some sad news in a kind of weird way. Projekt Z, we reported on it a few shows in a row, actually. The zombie-inspired shooter that was on Kickstarter a few weeks ago. They've posted out a tweet on their social channels saying a important message for Projekt Z fans, and I read from it. Hey survivors, today we decided to cancel our Kickstarter campaign for Projekt Z. The entire team wants to say thank you for all your support you gave us during the Kickstarter. Without you, we wouldn't have reached the 35% of our funding. Although our Kickstarter wasn't successful, we are super touched by how every single person helped us to push this Kickstarter. Nevertheless, we heard that you are worried about the future of Projekt Z. We can guarantee that the Projekt Z game is not in danger. We are currently in a lot of talks about the future of Projekt Z, but of course, we cannot share any information about it yet. Follow us on social media channels to stay in the loop. Thank you for all your support. Justin Mersher, co-founder. So, Richie, not much really to go into this one. I don't think you and me were really caught up on the Projekt Z hype. I think it looked like a fun game, but nothing I've not seen before. We actually reported on it maybe last week or the week before that. It was only at about 25% of its Kickstarter goal with only 20 odd days left. So it wasn't looking great on last week's show. It looks inevitable then that it's actually been cancelled ahead of reaching its end goal, I think at the end of this month actually. And they look like they're seeking other avenues now for Projekt Z. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I've made my views like on Kickstarters clear. Like, I just don't really like to back them. Unfortunately, I just don't trust them. I think there's more horror stories than these success stories with things like Kickstarter. So it's just like, I don't have the spare cash to take that sort of gamble. Mm-hmm. I'd rather buy a guaranteed product, which is, I feel sorry for developers struggling to get their games greenlit, but that's just the reality for me. I do feel for them that this hasn't been successful the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, they say it's not in danger, but I wonder they're also saying they haven't talked about the future. Are they potentially rescoping the game? Making it a bit of a smaller title if the budget only goes so far?
Yeah, possibly. I think, again, we discussed kind of pre-show regarding this one. Hopefully it could mean something like they've got interest from publishers. There's other companies who stepped in and said, we like what you do, but we just don't want any involvement with the Kickstarter. We would rather bankroll or maybe half fund the project, but you need to pull the Kickstarter before you get those promises locked in. Because there is always that downside. If the Kickstarter went through, it would probably scare off a lot of publishers because you don't want to be tied to these odd little caveats of Kickstarter, and obviously Kickstarter take a percentage of your profits as well based on the end product. So there's a little bit of like back and forth that maybe other publishers who are showing interest don't want anything to do with. So again, wish them all the best, wish them well. Any indie developer out there grafting away to make the art that we all love so well, all the more power to them. So hopefully we'll see what's going on in the future. They have also clarified as well on social that their intent is still to bring the title to Stadia. It was one of the wider out goals for the Kickstarter. It's very much still in their focus wheelhouse. So
I've got a feeling this is one of them games that hasn't got the mainstream attention, but because of that, the Stadia community have been a bit more obvious to the publisher, to the developer, and going, oh, these guys are awesome, these guys are backing us, where not people on other platform maybe not. But so that might be like they might have a bit of a fondness for the Stadia community because of that.
Yeah, indeed. But hopefully we'll learn more about it in the future, although I feel like they might go radio silent for a little bit as they sort out funding and stuff behind the scenes. Speaking of a game though that's been on our radar for quite some time, From Space, the follow-up to It Came From Space and Ate Our Brains, the spiritual successor, which we've played. There's a first look available up on the channel whilst the multiplayer demo was on Stadia. It is coming ever so closer to release. The developers Triangle Studios have teased it a couple of times that news will be incoming this summer. They've actually announced on Twitter this week that they've signed a publishing deal with Curve Games to be the partner that is going to bring the From Space game to life. You might be familiar with Curve Games. They're the ones who published things like Human Fall Flat and the Just Die titles. So Human Fall Flat, as we found out, Rich, on an old episode of Side Quest, one of the best-selling games of all time.
Yep.
It was like up there in, was it 11th place or 10th place or something?
I can't remember exactly, but it was up there.
It was insanely high, Human Fall Flat. So hopefully From Space will have a similar vibe and hopefully pull of people. I'd love this game to be a big hit. Plays really well on mobile with the Razer Kishi as well. So keep our eyes out for that one. Wrapping up a few stories of the week, Richie. Another tangential one that I do want to link onto. Lord of the Rings Gollum. You and me are both massive Lord of the Rings fans. One day on this channel, we will do an entire movie review breakdown of Lord of the Rings. If we can ever grow to a size when we can branch out and talk about movies and TV, I'd love nothing more than sitting down with you and just talking about Lord of the Rings for like 9 hours straight. Hands down. But until that day, folks, we'll talk about the Lord of the Rings Gollum. It's the sneaky stealth game that's being released. It's got a date now. It's coming on the 1st of September. One day before the Amazon Lord of the Rings series going live. I know what you thought I was going to say there, Richie. I was going to say my birthday. That too. It's coming for PC, PS4, Xbox One, Series X, and PS5. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because the publishers, Nacon, of this game, they were brought up recently in the Stadia Google for Games Developer Summit. And we, if you scroll back a couple of weeks, actually discussed them on the show. We discussed all the porting partners. And since then, we've actually seen a multitude of games come from those porting partners. But if we look at Nacon's publishing list, they had Hunting Simulator, that came out back end of 2021 on Stadia. They have the World Rally Championship games, the Cricket and Rugby 2022 games. They came out respectively back in August last year, October last year, and Rugby 22 was actually as late as January this year. Vampire Masquerade is in their wheelhouse. Of all their IP that they kind of work with in publishing deals, everything is already out, except for one game, and that is the Gollum Lord of the Rings game, Richie. Now, Stadia does need a win this year. It really, really does. They've had nothing AAA since January when Rainbow Six Extraction came out. Is it possible?
I know we're plugging SideQuest a lot. Well, CloudQuest now.
Yay!
We did a whole CloudQuest breaking down all the most the most anticipated upcoming games, and we had Outriders, Extraction, which had just been at the start of the year, and then nothing till Avatar.
Yeah, we went through everything.
Yeah.
They need a win. They need some games this year. I've said many times before, if we go into Christmas, like when we do our Stadia end of year review, as we always do, and we've not had anything this year. This year can be written off as the worst year of Stadia. I think I'm going to say it now. We're not even halfway through the year, but if we're sat there on December 31st and we've had nothing,
they need to crush it in the back half of the year to actually kind of reinvigorate the platform a bit. And I wish I was optimistic. I mean, I can be reasonably optimistic we'll get Gollum.
You should be. It's a third-party AA game.
Is Gollum not? Is Gollum...
No.
On its own, no.
But is there a chance, based on the publishing list... It was there. It was the logo was on the splash screen talking about porting partners. Now we've seen a lot of games already come over. This is the only one. So again, huge Lord of the Rings fan. I'm definitely playing this game, even if it does look a little bit odd in some places. It doesn't have the movie like Peter Jackson's movie license, so he's not quite the Andy Serkis Gollum you love and know so well. But
I still need to see more of this game, to be honest, because I haven't seen that much of what the game actually is.
There's bits of gameplay available now. It's more of a long puzzle game because he's not a fighting character, so you've got to use stealth and kind of like environmental things to lure orcs into little tiny holes and drop buckets on their heads and stuff, I guess. And you can do a lot of climbing traversal, which I think is going to be a puzzle element to it. And obviously this takes place in a very, very small part of the books that isn't part of the movie world that you don't see. But I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. But more importantly, I feel like Stadia just needs a bigger title. And Lord of the Rings Gollum isn't necessarily one of the biggest titles, but it has a franchise attached to it that at least gets some eye in terms of Sauron on it to some degree. And if Stadia can get that little win from Daedalic Studios and Nacon Publishing, I'll take it. Yeah. If I recall, is Nacon the one we gave them loads of stick for because their logo was terrible?
Yeah, I do. It was difficult to find. It was a logo that came up. I think the fact that we said the logo was terrible is because it took its ages to figure out who the logo even belonged to.
Oh, it was the snake, wasn't it? It was just the generic viper.
It's terrible as a logo because it was difficult to find.
Yeah.
A company logo should be representative of the company and help you find that organisation.
Yeah. But fingers crossed. Again, clasping at straws, but you know what? We need something. Final news story of the week, Richie, is more of a celebration piece. Lord of the Rings Gollum is out the way. Let's go back 40 years to when Gollum wasn't even on movies. He was just in an animated...
I was going to say...
He was just in
you were about to say Gollum wasn't a thing then.
No. I know when the books came out, almost a century ago at this point, actually. Before he was on TV, and we know and love him, there was a little character that also made loads of funny noises and walked around with an alter ego, and that is Pac-Man, Richie. I got there eventually. Pac-Man is celebrating his 42nd birthday. Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle is available for half price on Google Stadia. Pac-Man, of course, we've got that Megatunnel Battle from the Good Stuff event. Whew, what a throwback to the Good Stuff event. It's half price now if you didn't claim it as pro back in the day. And just wanted to shout that one out. Pac-Man, big fan of him.
You know, I've just realised, looking at the Stadia Source article, Megatunnel Battle was actually launched on my 30th birthday.
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Soon to be 33. Wow.
Actually, no, I'll be my 31st, sorry.
So you're getting old, you don't even know how old you are, and you mock me for Gollum's age. But you know who's
I am 32.
Ageless? You know who's ageless? Pac-Man. That's who, Richie.
He's
Fill
40.
your boots. Waka waka. It is 42 in the article.
Is it?
Yeah. Either way, he's getting on. He's older than us. Waka waka. We both enjoy Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle. It's a fun little title. If you haven't got it already, do head out and claim it while it's on offer. We definitely recommend it. But Richie, that brings us to an end of the news this week. We do have 2 quick Discord questions from our lovely viewers and listeners out there in the Discord server. If you have any questions or comments or concerns you'd like to write into the show about, we have an entire thread in our Discord server for you to write into the show with some ideas. And the best ideas, we actually sometimes pluck out and make entire CloudQuest shows about. So definitely recommend you get them in there. Keep them topical, of course, and in line with the current news and affairs. But Richie, who writes into us this week?
So, first writing in, we have Mr. Beasley, who asks, what do you mostly play Stadia on, and where do you like to play the most? For example, I like playing on my flat's balcony or in bed? Also, have you played in any strange places, i.e. top of the skyscraper? Finally, a dream destination you would want to play in.
Where do we play the most? My most use for Stadia currently is probably, again, still FIFA, paired with the Razer Kishi on my phone. Outside of our live streams, that is the most Stadia gaming I do, is my career mode on FIFA using my Razer Kishi. Love it a bit. So good.
I had a bit of a lull in terms of my Stadia gaming because there was nothing on the platform I actually wanted to play outside of FIFA until I got East 9. I played East 9 here, and more recently I've been playing City Skylines. But the place I play Stadia almost exclusively is actually right here at my desk.
Good old desktop.
I prefer to game here actually than downstairs on my couch, which is why for a while I've been contemplating switching. I got my PS4 on my desk. I've been contemplating bring my PS5 up here and put my PS4 downstairs, but I haven't done that yet.
Do you like being closer to everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Well,
feeling
you've seen my TV isn't huge because I bought my TV for a smaller room and I haven't replaced it yet. And I like being closer. This is a comfortable gaming setup. I also like. Sometimes, depending what I'm playing, I like having other things going on as well. Yeah. And I've got 3 monitors on my desk, so there's a lot going on here.
I can respect that. Yeah. Following up, have you ever played any strange places? Now, you've mentioned there, McBeasley, i.e. top of a skyscraper. I don't know if that's in reference to... Or...
I think it's in reference.
Okay, I was going to say, for any viewers and listeners who don't know, we actually have a video up on the channel last summer. I actually played Google Stadia at the top of the Shard in London, one of the tallest buildings in Europe. It worked fine. Played a couple of games up there. My wife wasn't too pleased, but I did it anyway. It worked. There's about a 5-minute or so video up of me playing Stadia at the top of the Shard. It's like 1,000-odd foot up in the air. So yeah, go check that out. It's up on the channel now. So that's probably the strangest place I have played it. Richie, I think one of the weirdest next places we'll play it might even be... We might be recording it right now, because you and me are heading down to the lowest pub in the world, is it?
Yeah, I think so. We're going for some drinks in Poland on Friday.
In a mine.
Well, actually, Friday just gone, actually, for you people listening. In a mine. Yeah, literally in a mine. So we may jump and Stadia there.
I'm going to boot it up just to see if it works, because that
for you it's in the past, for us it's in the future, so we can't report how it worked.
But we will on next week's
I'm
show.
I'm assuming terribly, because I'm guessing isn't decent Wi-Fi down there, and you're not getting 3G.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not getting 4G.
We're in the deepest pub in Europe. 2, we're on a foreign network for us as well, so I don't know what my mobile network's going to be like. Very doubtful if they will have Wi-Fi. We're also there to have a few drinks, not to play video games.
Yeah.
However, I'm very keen to try it out, because I would push it to anyone out there. I've played at the top of the Shard. If I get it to work in the deepest mine in Europe, I might be the sole person on this planet who's played with the longest distance between locations from top to bottom.
I have Guinness World Record for gaming with the most
distance,
the widest range in vertical height.
Yeah. Who's going to beat me? We'll see, but we'll report back on that one.
For me, my answers are, in terms of strange place I've played, I haven't. I don't game on the go a lot at all, pretty much. Like, I don't play games at work on my phone or anything like that. Gaming for me is when I get into gaming, unless there's something really casual like Pokemon Legends Arceus where I can just jump in for like half an hour, I tend to binge for like 4 or 5 hours in a block, which means like it's at the end of the day, I'm sat on my couch, got everything I need to get done in the day is done, and I'm playing. I'm either here, I'm downstairs on my couch or whatever. So that's how I tend to approach games. So I don't play that much during the week. I do a lot on the weekend though.
We'll get you set up in that mind, don't you worry.
Yeah. In terms of dream places, I don't really have a dream place I want to play. Like, there isn't a dream location I'd want to go to game. Because if it's a dream location I want to go to, I'm probably not going there to game. I'm going there because I want to be in that place.
I've played in the bath before. I've got a water resistant phone, so Razer Kishi, sat there in amongst the bubbles, which are practically like clouds anyway. Check it out. Relax. Yeah. Take it easy.
The clouds for your bath.
Yeah, play one-hand clapping. Sing to yourself in the bath. Anyway, thank you for that question, McBeastly. or McBeakley, as Richie will lovingly call you from now on. Who else have we got, Richie? Who else has wrote into the show?
We have Cube Apple 76, whose name I got right this time.
You did.
And he asks, Chromecast TV or UI hasn't been updated since launch and is a bit clunky, especially once you get a bigger library. I think getting the storefront on there is key. Also, enjoy Poland. I'm biased because it's my home country, but it's an amazing place to visit. Which city are you guys seeing?
100% with you on the Chromecast interface and the mobile interface for that matter. The fact that you can't access the storefront through the Chromecast is crazy. That you can't physically go on and browse and buy things through the millions of devices like Samsung and LG phones. I haven't said it in a while, but I have said many times over the last 2.5 years we've been recording this show that I think it's insane that you don't have parity between platforms in terms of what features you have on there. Yeah, I agree. And there are many, many old games that are probably stranded so far back along that scroll panel, we're never going to see them again. I've got in the dock for CloudQuest to do at some point, our dream UI overhaul for Stadia, but we haven't got to it because it's not one of them, oh my god, this is a massive thing. It's but we'll probably talk more about it at some point in the future. But we will. But
it needs a massive overhaul, and part of it for me is parity between device.
Yeah.
Whether you're on Chromecast, on your phone, or through a Chrome browser, you should have all the same features. And Google, if you're listening, do that for YouTube as well. Because I had a rant before about YouTube in terms of I can't push things. I think it's something I can't push. I can't change the scheduling from members only to just normal scheduling.
Oh, you're content creators, wise things.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just the YouTube app, and I was thinking, isn't YouTube quite similar across all things? But give me some favourites as well while you're at it. Let me star my favourite games so they just stay at the top of my page or folders, something like that. There's
lots of approaches. Pick one that works for you.
Just do something. Just do something with it. We're really looking forward to Poland. I've never been before. We're actually visiting Krakow and Zabrze as well. Who else knows, Richie? We've got a couple of days free. We might just rent a car and go wherever we end up. Who knows? Yeah. We're meeting some friends. We are there for a wedding. Looking forward to it. And as you said, it'll all be in the past now. When this show goes live, we'll be recovering. Yeah. And due to
when it goes live, we'll probably be asleep, actually, I'd imagine, because it'll be Monday morning.
Oh yes. But we are off work. We can't wait. If you've got any suggestions, Cube Apple, any places to visit in Krakow or the nearby area, do let us know. We're open to suggestions. Yeah. But that brings us, Richie, to an end for episode 140 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. 140 weeks consistently we've been bringing you all of the Stadia and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the virtual cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Do rate us on Spotify. Do give us a like. Click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the cloud gaming content we bring you here on the channel. Just like this very show, like our live streams, like our first looks, all the other stuff that we do. Join us on the Discord server. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, click join below. From as little as 99p, you can support us. You get stickers, you get badges, and more importantly, you get early access for up to 6 days, if not even more so, like this week, to our CloudQuest show. It does eventually drop on free feeds, but you get it up to 6 days early, just like Adamoff does, our latest Helix Hero, to join the club. He joins over 50 awesome people who share their love for our channel and extra support. We love you all. Thank you very, very much for watching. Richie, CloudQuest this week, just to sign off for people. So, what are we talking about?
We are talking about, is it 69 or 68?
69.
I'm getting confused.
69.
So for CloudQuest 69, we're talking about who Google should buy in terms of gaming publishers or developers. If they were to get back into that game.
Well, they need to do something, but we'll find out all about that in the months, weeks, years, maybe even days to come. Until then, though, folks, thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Sounds of Stadia. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
You can find me at Twitter at CyberChris2077.
And me at RichieC89.
The channel at Helix Cloud Games across all social media channels. And remember, everyone, play whatever makes you the happiest. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.